All right, well, welcome back to our third series of our roundtables here at the City of Bell. My name is Daniel, I'm with Leeaf, and we are so excited to come back one final time this month here, actually beginning of March, but this time with the City of Bell. We're ready to close things off strong, and I'm super excited. We have two amazing guests from Bell City Hall, but today we'll be talking about scaling with support. So one of the things that we'll be talking about, we'll be asking our guests a couple of series of questions about scaling with support, specifically with the City of Bell. But one thing when it comes with, we've talked about marketing, being visible, we talked about growing stronger, when is a good time to grow strong with access to capital, financing, and also workforce development. But now scaling with support, it isn't just about making more money, it's about staying compliant, protecting your business, and knowing where to turn for help as you grow. We are very fortunate enough, and the business owners here at City of Bell are very fortunate enough to have the staff of City of Bell, City Hall, to be answering some of these questions. So we're really, really excited. So before I get started, I just wanted to have a chance for our guests to introduce themselves. So we can start.
Sure, yeah. Hi everybody, Martin and Zoelli, Economic Development Specialist here with the City of Bell.
Hi, I'm Zoelli Ortiz. I'm the Management Aide with the City of Bell's Planning Division.
Before we get started, again, we're talking about obviously growing strong with compliance, with protecting your business. When we talk about legal or compliance requirements, what does that mean for you? Because when you hear legal compliance, it's just like, oh, I have to follow the rules or I'm going to get in trouble. But legal compliance and compliance requirement, what does that essentially mean to you for business owners?
Yeah, so to dive a little bit deeper into it, sometimes there's different variations of legal compliance. There's the extremes of it where you could be like, hey, I have a letter from the lawyer, that aspect. But under, let's say you could say it's a little more of the City Hall side, it's if a business owner is out of compliance and legally speaking, they're supposed to follow certain regulations that's required from them. Just because we don't want to have this where everybody can do whatever they want. We're ensuring public safety. We're ensuring comprehensive businesses that can be here and operate in a way where it aligns with the city's vision, the goals that we're trying to implement, and also as well, we're not just trying to let anybody do whatever they want and sell one thing versus another, or to operate or provide a service that they're not providing. But ultimately, I would say within that realm, sometimes I guess there's a little stigma that like, oh, they send me a letter, that means I'm going to get in trouble with the law. It's like, no, it's just come to City Hall, talk to us, and we'll be more than happy to help you out and rectify anything that's been done.
Yeah.
We're not here to, hey, you're going to go to jail or anything. It's more of we're trying to help basically educate our small business community and give them something to they can actually hold on and be like, okay, these are the rules of the City of Bell.
Yeah, perfect. And
Yeah, for me, being in compliance legally just means being up to code and adhering to the code. So, within any city you have different zones, and in those zones there's by right permitted uses and then there's uses that are not permitted. So just making sure that you're in compliance with all of those permitted uses and any other development standards that there are, and any extra permits that you might need, staying up to date with those.
You're right. And a follow-up question with that, which is, I think it's a little funny with us at Leaf, and it is very common more often than people think, but sometimes it's kind of like that fear that they don't want to, like, oh, I don't know if I should now, I'm a little too late. This is something that we also hear after the fact, where we do know a lot of business, like I've been in business for 2 years, 3 years, 30 years, but how often have you heard that someone's discovered they needed a permit after the fact? How often do you all hear that?
Ooh. Well, on my side, I do hear it often. I'm pretty sure Zoelli can speak to it. I'll probably let her take that one.
Yeah, very often.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of natural. I mean, which is stuff where it's it's learning to use City Hall, and the resources are out there. And it's, sometimes again, for me personally, and this is me also unlearning that stigma when I hear about City Hall. I'm like, oh, that's scary. I don't want to go there. I'm in trouble. But it's stuff that we've also learned at Leaf. Obviously learning, especially with LA. LA is a huge city, but then we have LA City, we have LA County, and then cities within the county and the city as well. So then obviously having to understand where normally we also get questions where it's like, well, I already registered with LA County, why do I have to go with the city? Because again, like Zoelli was saying, every county, every city has their own permits and bylaws and stuff. But I feel it is also good to educate in the sense of, or no, where it's like, it's okay if you think, well, in my mind, again, correct me if I'm wrong, let's get the permit now rather than just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and to just build on that a little bit, it is important that sometimes business owners, because I've seen it too myself, where they already, hey, I signed the lease, I've done this, I have my equipment, and I have a space. Okay, and we understand that running a business is not an easy thing, especially as a new business owner or one that's already been doing it for 30 years. It's not easy, but I would always recommend and side on the caution and say, hey, I'm not too sure about this. Let me go to City Hall because I don't want someone to send me a notice, hey, you're out of compliance, or hey, the use that you have is not permitted in this zone, like Zoe was saying. So I think it's important that don't think of City Hall as like, oh, we're just here to wag our fingers at you. It's more like, hey, look, we're here to offer you help, educate you, give you all the tools so you can make the best possible decision.
Perfect.
Kind of building on that.
Yeah.
Go for it. Building on that, I think that's one of the benefits of being in a small city and having a small staff. You can really have that kind of one-on-one communication with staff.
No, and I love it. Every time I come here, I mean, for folks who are not saying, where can we find you at City Hall?
I agree with you.
But with that, so actually with that, I do kind of want to then kind of use those resources now a little bit. So kind of navigating city and state support. So again, we know we're in California state support, but specifically talking about city and then some state support that you would also recommend. And this is stuff that we hear constantly at Leaf, and it's again kind of going back to the idea of, not the idea, but the fact where, we're probably the first generation in our family line that we're starting our own business. No one's handing us, here's the blueprint, here it is. We're kind of building it out, fleshing it out how it goes. And more often than not, we find ourselves, in communities where there's resources, but because we weren't born into that area, we don't know they exist. We don't know they're there. So many owners don't realize that this support already does exist and feel sometimes we're going by ourselves. So a question for both of you, what types of city or state resources are the most underutilized by small businesses?
I would say one, a lot of the times, I think it's a twofer, I would say. A little portion of it, or I say half and half. You have cities that sometimes are catching up a lot of the times to how marketing is done, how we voice our resources to the public. How do we face that? A lot of times it's very kind of, hey, it's on the website, or it's a flyer. And sometimes that is, I get it, paper is at one point was king, but now you have cell phones.
Yeah.
Cell phones has transcended a lot of ways of how to communicate and shown us, hey, I've actually found out so much about resources through scrolling through Instagram. Hey, there's gonna be a resource center or resource fair at LA County in this day at this time. Okay, that's the important part, and I think sometimes that gets lost because we're trying to catch up. So I think as cities, the way we kind of showcase and face our small business community is important because we need to get, I'm not saying when I say get with the times, but kind of get with it in the sense, hey, here are the resources at your fingertips. A lot of the times, because they feel they read the requirements, it's like, oh, I don't know if I will qualify, and I'm just not gonna ask. And it's better to just ask. You never know. Hey, yeah, you may not qualify, but let's still put the application in. Or yeah, you may not fit under this scope, but there's another resource over here. So it's never to just turn away people and we want to just say, hey, it didn't happen. It's more of, let's try to find the best resource for you. And I think we need to meet those together where, as a business owner, don't be scared of City Hall to just come in and ask. And as a city, be more forthcoming and be like, hey, look, we have all our resources here. Are they front and center? Make contact early, quickly, and often. And that's probably what gets you through the door even quicker. That's how we do a lot of programs here, especially resources. We like to do social media blasts because it's probably the fastest way people communicate, and it's the fastest way that everybody can get known and recognized for what's going on within the city.
Amazing. And Zoelli?
Yeah, I would kind of echo all of that. I mean, a lot of resources today are online. But if there's any questions, I think us just being humans as a resource, using each other, and if you don't have access to social media, just or give us a call or come in person and ask questions.
Okay. And then with that, I know it's kind of silly to say, but it's if someone is watching this right now, where would you recommend Instagram, Facebook, going just direct to City Hall, or all of the above, email, phone?
All of the above. And a lot of the times I think that's where I think there's a little bit of a fall off because I started to do this more often now where I don't think it stopped a while ago because of COVID, but now I think bringing this back where just go walk the street. And I do that every once in a while. I go down the block, I just go down my blocks And I check in with business owners like, hi, my name is Martin. I'm here with the city. I work for the Economic Development Division. Them seeing a face and you just giving a business card does so much more because now they could put a face to it.
Yeah.
And now they're more willing to come forward and be like, hey, I remember you talked to me. I have this. I want to do this. Is there anything we can do? Now we can start to really engage. Because the problem is not that the resources are not there. The problem is that getting you through the door.
Right.
Having you come in, having the ability to access that knowledge or access those resources that are valuable to our small business community.
Right. Well, actually, I love that you said that because that's the second question part in that. So it's like I'm hearing like, come to City Hall, come to us. So it's like, okay, I have a question, but I don't know where to go. Like I can go to City Hall, but I don't know where to start, or am I in the right place to ask this question? So it's like, when we talk to business owners about, you know, building relationships with local agencies, either with City of Bell or programs that City of Bell is offering, you know, what do you recommend without them feeling intimidated? If it's like they have the question, but it's like, I don't know if this is the right place to go. Should I still go here, or who do I ask if I don't know anyone to answer that question? And I know it's kind of like a big, but it's like we do get that stuff where it's like, I think they told me to go to City Hall, but I don't know if that's going to answer my question or not.
Yeah, I would say a good place to always start if you have a question is with planning. We're kind of the ones who lay the groundwork for something is even allowable or not, and kind of the different permits that you might need. So I would recommend, you know, going to the planning department at any city first. But of course with businesses, there's so many other departments that can be involved, right? But I mean, at least speaking on behalf of me as a planner and my team, I think we're always really eager to talk to business owners. And if we're not able to give the correct answer, we can always direct it to the appropriate department.
Perfect. So, and no, not let's quote you, but I'm a business owner in Bell. Zoelli told me to come to the planning department in City Hall. Someone's going to direct me to the right place.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. That's
and to build on that, so it's like, this is where I think we're starting to see more and more. We're building that relationship of how departments work within themselves. An example is like, usually because I do the economic development, I always want to, you know, do the biggest, best. I can bring all the development in, and then planning tells me no.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from, hey, are you within regulation? Are you within compliance? So it's kind of doing a two where we're playing back and forth, and we're saying, hey, I want to bring this, or hey, this business owner wants to come in. I want to put them here. Is that allowable? Oh yeah, it'll fit the use. Okay, perfect. Now we know where to direct. We've built that established relationship, and we can continue them forward. A lot of the times, I've felt, and I've also done and experienced it, where hand holding them and kind of guiding them through the process and being transparent about what the process is that much more helpful, because if you just tell them the small snippet of what's going on versus, hey, this is the entire process, they'll be more accepting of it, because like, oh, okay, there's nothing that's going to come out of this left field and come and get you. Like, nope, you need to do this, this, and this to get to the opening of your business.
Right.
Okay. And at least for them, it'll give them a chance to digest all that information, and then we can work with them. A lot of the times is you give them the small bit of like, oh, they think it's just this, not knowing that there's something. They're in the bigger process of you have to go through your business license, building and safety, planning. If you need to get some health codes, so where to direct you. And a lot of the times, like Zoe was saying, always start with planning. Check with planning. They're your best friends. Make a planner your best friend. They'll be able to help you and guide you through everything. I like to think high in the sky, but the realist.
No, I mean because it's something that's like, where do I start from the beginning? But even that, again, very great, because then it brings us to the other part. So in the last session we were talking about, obviously, you know, the idea of, you know, like when am I ready to grow? But rather than when am I ready, it's like, do you know? Like, you should know when you're ready in the sense of growth financially or as a business. So for example, the example last week was, you know, when do you know, like if it's like, hey, I need money as a business, great, you know, we all need that. But rather than saying I need money, you know, instead of saying, you know, I need money, it's let's go back to that planning stage of knowing your financials, knowing where your money is coming from, knowing where your profit is coming from. For you, that instead of saying I need money, saying this is how much I need for this time, you know, going in prepared. So going back to that planning stage. Now flipping it on this, and for this conversation, you know, we're talking about coming and going to the planning committee. But in your experience, what's also one thing, because I know it's sometimes it's one thing like, okay, I was told to come here, but now I'm being told to come back with something else. And it could be obviously for a series, you know, it could be someone like I'm asking, I want to create an event or doing collaboration with another business, or I want to host an event at my place, you know. for any of the reasons, what is one thing that you would recommend that a business prepare before they come reach out? So that way it's the same thing, it's not like coming out of left field or feeling like, well, they're turning me away, but obviously it's more like, well, you know, we need to come back with this information, or at least knowing what you want to do specifically. So I don't know if that question makes sense, but like what should someone come in prepared for before reaching out?
Yeah, I think a business before reaching out should have a very clear vision about what they want to do. You know, a lot of times at the counter we'll get business owners who say, oh, I want to have an event. And we're like, great, what type of event do you want to have? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I should have an event. So it's a lot, it makes the timeline a lot quicker and also a lot more streamlined if you come in with a really clear vision about what you want. That way we can direct you to the correct permits, and we can also give you an accurate timeline. Like you were kind of alluding to the fact that time is money when you're a business, and you know, the longer something takes, the more money you might be investing into it. So if you just have a really clear vision about what you want, the planning division can give you an accurate timeline of what that's going to look like, if you're going to need to go through other departments, if you're going to need to, you know, extend that timeline longer, and what the review might look like. So I would just say coming in with a very clear vision, so that way we can, you know, help you get the most accurate information up front instead of kind of dragging it out in the long run.
For everyone. Yeah, and I think that's also kind of like, it is a fair thing where it's like, I feel, you know, it's like I want to do an event, and then when people like what event, it's like, oh, I was expecting for you to say no, so I didn't come with the come up, but yeah, I think it goes with that without saying, or you know, without saying, it's also just have those realistic expectations. Like, if I'm going to have an event next weekend and I'm asking on a Thursday, it might be a little harder.
And it's not to say that we don't try to work hard. Like, I know the planning department, sometimes they get their own curveballs. Like, hey, we're going to an event. It's next week. What? Okay. And we try, a lot of times we try to help and try to mitigate and give people the most accurate, most up-to-date information, and show them that, like, hey, if you have a clear, concise structure built out for yourself of what you want to do as a business, it makes the process go that much easier for you, because you've already done a lot of the legwork that's required. Not saying that we're not going to do our work, but I'm saying it's like you want us to kind of, hey, who's running the business? Are we trying to put the business for you, or you already have your business plan? So those are the distinctions where I feel that understanding the roles and the responsibilities of what a business owner is required and what the city is required, and having a good blend of both of those two.
Yeah, no, perfect. And then switching gears a little bit with that, because obviously we're talking about event planning, where to go if I need support. I think another thing that's also underutilized is, you know, like for the long-term growth of like, what do I need to make sure my business is protected for long-term growth? So kind of now flipping a little, I want to hear your opinions a little bit on a business scale. How should owners think about legal structure, like when we're talking about insurance and long-term risk, and what type of permits, protection stuff I should be looking at if I'm going to have my business, obviously for 10 or more years, you know, stuff that maybe I'm just trying to get the business off the ground, but we kind of forget 10 years later, we're like, oh, you know, I forgot to do this. And now we live in a state and a city that has constant nature disasters, unfortunately.
And by all means, yes, you know, I can say this to business owners, and in regards to legal structures, insurance, and how to, you know, really gauge risk, one, always come from the idea of like, hey, how will this impact my business? If I do end up taking this risk, how much of a risk will I be taking? And on top of that, if you are taking the risk, try to minimize it as much as you can. Because I would say this to business owners in the sense, if you feel uncertain about something when it comes to like, hey, I need a resource, I need this, or my business, I feel like it's going through turmoil right now, which I've had happen in my time, where I have people come to me and ask me like, hey, what can I'm not getting the same amount of foot traffic as I was 2 years ago. I feel my numbers have dropped. That's someone that's taking the proactive step to be like, hey, I'm recognizing there's a trend here where I'm losing foot traffic. I want to bring that back up. How would you do that? Hey, as a person, you are identifying those risks already, and you're taking a proactive step. So always keep that in mind as a business owner, you know, to minimize your risk. And then also structure yourself and position yourself in a way where if things are changing from the top down, usually how it is, like, hey, these are the new rules and regulations that come from the federal government to the state. Hey, you need to provide all this to us. The city and also agencies try very hard to keep up to date with everything. So nothing is gonna be like, oh, it's a side swipe, and a lot of the times, sometimes the state or the federal government, they'll implement laws that conflict with each other. The city's in the middle trying to sort and detangle everything and give the most accurate information. So business owners are not stuck in the middle where they're having to kind of deal legally with everything. It's more of like, oh, okay, the city has provided me a good base and foundation of how to reduce my risk, but also how to continue and keep growing my business in the ways that the government or federal government or the state government wants me to operate.
Oh, I guess just on the preemptive side of kind of protecting your business from risk, one thing that I've come to learn in the city and like with businesses, just because something is there doesn't necessarily mean it's legal or permitted. So again, like coming to the planning department and just checking in and seeing if something looks kind of off or strange or you're not sure, I'm just coming in and asking the planning division if they can look into the permits on something and make sure that it's legal so that you're not stuck in the future with something unpermitted or something that might be dangerous.
Yeah, so you can just building that relationship with City Hall. Can you explain like what's the difference as far as like what can City Hall resolve and what's more a state or county issue that unfortunately has to go above? Is that something that exists in City of Bell?
I would say, I think on the planning side, there are like certain regulations and rules that come just straight from the top that the city just has to adjust and keep going forward, adapt. I would say there are a good amount of regulations here within the city that are controlled at the city level. The Municipal Code is one of them, but it does take a lot to amend and make changes. That's probably one of the things we're going through right now. An example of that is our code, our municipal code, is back from the 80s. It hasn't been updated ever since, and we're in 2026, so it's been a long time. So that's something that's controlled at the local level, where cities have to contend with old uses, and it's an outdated form of applying the code and trying to integrate it into the new uses. Like 20 years ago, people wouldn't think of like, oh yeah, like operating out of your home. How do you even regulate that? How do you put a code to that? So it's at the city level as a business owner, if there is things that kind of interest you, or you see like, hey, I've noticed that I run this kind of business and I see it in other cities and this is how they operate. Can the city do something for me here in the city of Bell? And that's where that discussion starts to curate and we cultivate that to bring something to life. And sometimes that's how it works. It's a lot of bringing the attention because maybe sometimes we're working at 1,000 miles an hour as planners and economic development, and the business owner sees it. He's like, hey, look, I'm getting impacted by this, but this law hasn't been applicable in 20 years. How can we rectify this? How can we find a solution to this? So it's understanding where the laws are coming from and where the city does have control. The city does try to give as much accurate information in the sense of this comes from the state, it's out of our control, but knowing what's within your control vicinity, that's the most crucial part. Municipal Code probably will be your best friend if you know it as much as planners do. It becomes your best friend, and you're kind of like your Bible. I would say your little weapon, so you can defend yourself. Or like, hey, look, I want to do this. This is permitted. It's in the code, so it helps you. And it doesn't. Because a lot of times I feel from new business owners to old business owners that have been doing it for 30 years, kind of go and say, hey, I want to make a change to the inside, not knowing that requires a little bit of planning intervention. So understanding that dynamic is very important.
And then for Zoelli, I guess Zoelli, like follow-up question, like what is if you have a common misconception that folks have that sometimes like, well, this is more of a state, county level than a city level, or any events that you normally see where it's like, well, why can't we do this, or issue, like not an issue, but stuff where it's like this is what we can do at the city versus this is more a county, state level. Have you had any examples?
Yeah, I mean, Martin kind of mentioned with operating food inside of your home, so there's a lot of laws that come from the state and from the county regarding the regulations on that. Meanwhile, our code, like Martin said, it's pretty outdated, so we don't have really any regulations in our code that allow for that. But at least for planning, we always defer to state and federal regulations. If those come in and they're kind of mandating for cities to follow them, we would always defer to those. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of conflicting things within our code that conflict with current state laws, but it's our job as planners to do our research and provide the most accurate and legal information.
Yeah, and actually that's a great example you said about food and house, because I mean that's also something that was just announced in California. That is a state level permit now, but that's a MECO permit that's been announced, and it's actually been a permit that's been allowed, or it's been around for all the folks don't know that, but it's, you know, sometimes the common misconception is like, well, the city's not letting me. It's like, well, because that's more of a state permit that you need, but it is allowed essentially. But it's that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, where do I go, and knowing where to go next, and that's
Yeah.
spot.
And just for reference, the city is right now currently updating its current code. So we're going through a comprehensive zoning update right now. So we're bringing it up to speed.
Yeah.
So it's better for the business owners as well. It allows you guys to kind of like, because usage from 20 years ago are not the same. Everything changes. So at least we're updating it and trying to keep up.
Yeah.
Sometimes we fall a little behind, but at least the better we can keep up, the better information we can give you, and it's more better for the business owner to help them give a better, accurate picture of what they're looking at.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to kind of know that, because I know there's sometimes frustrations where it's, you know, where can I go specifically, but sometimes, again, because we do live in a nicely complicated region, you know, we have county, but then state, city, that there's different regulations, so you know, it's kind of a little bit of that confusion, and sometimes like that, well, I'm being sent somewhere else, but that's because sometimes it does go a little bit higher above that part.
And just to touch on that a little bit, I think sometimes the biggest thing that I've done it with a lot of the developers that I've worked with, but also small business owners, is just lay out the framework for them. Like, hey, look, this is where you're starting, and this is where the end result is, and this is everything in between.
Yep.
And sometimes just putting a timeline or just putting like dates and times to that helps them like conceptualize all that, and then they understand like, okay, now I know where I need to be. Because sometimes it's a little extra steps, but it's those crucial steps that help them get there.
Yep. So going back to, you know, starting with the planning committee. there.
Senior planning.
Yeah. Because there is a lot to start for. It's like, you know, even with us when we have cohorts, it's like you're gonna have to do, these are the different steps, and not because we're like sending you somewhere else, but because that is a step that's required outside. So to end this, it's actually two-part question, but the first one is, if a business owner could take one step this year to protect their business long term, what would you recommend?
I would say if a business owner wants to protect their business and wants to ensure that it goes on for many years, I would say become friendly with your city hall. Always talk to your planners. Always talk to your economic development. Have people of contact within the city, because they are probably the most adept to dealing with a lot of situations, because they're there on a day-to-day. You interact with them either way, if you know it or not. You interact with them on a day-to-day basis. From paying your business license, hey, I want to make a change, I want to throw events, I want to grow my business, or I want to expand my business into a different area. Can I do all those things to protect it and to not fall out of compliance, not get into legal, issues? I think that's always your best step forward. Coming into the city hall, coming and becoming very familiar with the staff that you're going to be working on a month-to-month, day-to-day, year-to-year is very important, because they can give you crucial information that's very helpful for you. And I think that's how you shield your business the best.
Yeah. Zoelli,
One step that I would recommend business owners take is to submit a public records request. So a public records request, basically you can just ask your city if you want any piece of information. The city legally has to give it to you within 10 days. So for business owners, I would say that could look like, can I have the permits for past businesses on this site or at this location? And that can help you get a better idea of the previous businesses that were there, maybe what was successful there, and also any unpermitted or any unpermitted structures. So if you see on the floor plan previously, it was laid out like this, but now there's 20,000 square feet added to something, that looks a little off. You can kind of take that preventative measure and say, hey, this looks off, and then work with your planning or building department on how to kind of fix that. So that's what I would recommend. It's always good to have, all information on hand before making any big decisions.
You'd be surprised, more often than not, it's actually the reverse. People make the decision
and they're like, wait, what?
Yes, because and it's unfortunate on our end, we see that. I've seen it where people sign leases and they come into the city and like, hey, I want to do this, or I want to do a coffee shop / bike concept together, not knowing like, hey, that's a combination of two uses that won't really mix together well. You need to have them separate. And they signed leases already and everything. I'm just like, it'd be better if you would have come to the city and pitch your idea, let us know, and then we can find a way to resolve it and make it easier for you. Because imagine you signed, you gave money and everything, now you're on the hook for the money.
Yeah.
Before you even opened your doors.
No, yeah, and I it comes back to that planning part, but that's also something that, like, I think it's unknown, where it's like, oh yeah, you're kind of, instead of working backwards, have that framework already, and then see if this is the right decision or not. I love that. Thank you. And so final question on that one. Well, actually, I keep saying final question. Well, final question for this one. Business owner, I live in Bell. What's one thing I can do right now just to maybe just kick off my relationship with City Hall, or just starting that connection? What's one thing I can do right now that it's quick and easy?
Quick and easy. If you have social media, follow us on social media. We have a really good marketing team right now. They like to share a lot of information. We're going to put a newsletter out pretty soon, so there's a lot of good information there for business owners to digest. Also, just come to City Hall. I think that's your best bet. Email us, find your contacts. Planning is always your best friend. Economic development is always your best bet, because they're the ones that want to bring business owners in. They want to activate them, empower them, to help them. They're anchors of the city, and sometimes people don't see that. And doing that early, often, and quickly is always your best friend.
Perfect. Zoe, same question. Do I come ask for you? Or what?
Come ask for Zoe.
Yes, to all of that. Social media, email, phone calls. I love meeting business owners and really getting to see businesses come to life in the city has been one of my favorite parts of the job. So yeah, definitely just forming that relationship.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And then we were actually just speaking it right before we started, but what are some events that are coming up at City of Bell, which I was excited to hear. So especially we have a very busy year here in Los Angeles, and years to come here in Los Angeles. But I know City of Bell is gearing up for some amazing things to go along with that.
No, yes. So the City of Bell is going to be hosting its first ever Ramadan event. It's first in the Southeast area. It's something where we try to cultivate and show people the new cultures and the cultures that we've already had here for a long time. A lot of the times what ends up happening is that things get put to the wayside, and we want to bring those front and center so everyone can experience that. Another one would be the circus event that we normally have annually every single year. It's going to be following March. Go back to the Ramadan one. The Ramadan one is going to be this Saturday from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. So just keep track of your time, because
The first year in LA County, right?
Exactly. And most importantly, daylight savings, so you may be out there longer than expected.
Yeah.
So just know that. But yeah, we're also going to have our circus events that are happening every March, May, August, and September. Those are either we have a carnival or we have a circus event show up. It's throughout the entire year. And then we're going to have our reoccurring once a month farmers market. It starts from 12 to 4. It's going to be at the Shoe City site, 6400 Atlantic Avenue. It's been going on there for already 2 years, a lot of good success. We do have another vendor called Angel City Market, so that's going to be our partner vendor and operator. They've been successful in cities like Downey, Lakewood, Montebello. So come out, show out, and shop.
Perfect. Well, Martin and Zoelli, thank you so much again. Once again, we want to thank City of Bell for hosting us here these last 3 weeks, and hoping to have more of these in the future. And then from Leeaf, if you are interested, feel free to follow us at Leeaf, leeaf.la.org. We will be having a cohort starting in April that we were super excited for businesses here in the Los Angeles County area, called Access to Capital. We talked a lot about planning. This is definitely one that we do recommend about planning for your growth and for next steps. So if y'all are interested, please check out our Instagram. We'll be announcing stuff as well in our newsletter. But thank you so much for your time, and have a great week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.